you have a lot of money, like billions, if not trillions of dollars tied up in these 401k plans that while you and I may look at this a little differently and be more willing to take the tax hit, be more willing to self custody Bitcoin, that like I am very much in the camp that if we want global mass adoption, you need to have a variety of products. And some of those do include things that are fake Bitcoin exposure, like an ETF for these, let's call them old folks. Let's call it what it is. The
Right.
older generation who simply wants exposure. So there is an element of this where you will unlock a market segment that otherwise would not get involved in this space because they have no interest in self custody. They have no interest in understanding the nuance of this tech, and
Right.
that's acceptable. That's fine. Truly, it
Yeah.
is.
They're on death's door. Look, they're old as dust. They need they need something to. They don't have time to learn about Bitcoin, but they want exposure to it. They know enough to know they want some. I think that's totally fair, man. Listen, if I had like 4 decades of working worth of retirement built up in a tax advantage, retirement account, you'd better believe I'd be trying to buy spot ETF Bitcoin too. I mean, I probably wouldn't be cashing that out. But we're so young, the game is just different for us.
Totally.
All in for me and you is not the same as all in for someone like I don't know. So name X old person
I mean,
that's
dude,
been
like
working their whole life.
my dad and I have this debate all the time,
Yeah.
where he's like, you are better positioned to take advantage of this situation, and I'm just not. And that's like he has such a huge reservation around it because he's like, I won't reap the rewards in the same way you will. I'm like, right, but like you're wrong because you've been wrong about a lot of things, and this is another one where like I hope you're around in a couple of years so that I can just be like, hey, Dad, I'm sorry, but you were wrong, and I told you so again.
Well, I disagree with that. He can have. I mean, he's probably pretty well positioned to take advantage of it on a huge scale. There's just more risk for him involved.
Totally. Like
So his allocation proportionally is going to be
he
smaller, the
can't
proportional allocation,
afford.
but that doesn't really matter.
So like for example, my mom has a bunch, but my dad doesn't really, even though my dad is definitely a far more convicted believer in Bitcoin than my mother is. But his whole thing is like, dude, I can't afford to put half of my savings into this because if it fails, I don't have enough time to go and like fix that. I can't go back and like remake that money that quickly versus no offense to you and I, but if we fall flat on our
Yeah.
face doing something, we're young enough to where it's like, okay, we've got plenty of time in the future over the course of the rest of our lives. Look it up.
Yeah, well, that's the hilarious thing about the kind of Twitter movement of Bitcoin, especially this like new class of 2020 and later Bitcoiners. A lot of them are pretty young, reckless, don't have much to their name anyway. So all in is a completely different story for them, and it's a good time, but it's I think part of the kind of cultural clash is between the younger, more brazen, with a high risk appetite, newer sort of investors that are very new to investing actually in and of itself. Um, versus the old kind of gold bugs, 60/40 portfolio allocation, regular kind of boomers that have been around the block many times and have seen many cycles and have seen many market downturns and depressions. So, I don't know. It's an individual case. You can't make a prescription that's going to fit all here.